As most of you know, this show is pre-recorded on Wednesday morning for a Friday airing. We must begin by acknowledging the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. What we witnessed Wednesday afternoon was profoundly heartbreaking. While we may hold differing political beliefs, Charlie was a man of conviction. He was a father, a son, a husband, and a friend to many, and a rising star within the Republican Party. Pure evil took him from those who loved him. Political violence of any kind from any side must never be tolerated. We pause this morning to remember Charlie Kirk.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to The Scoop on WSIC. We have a jam-packed show today. I have Dan, who is now the permanent co-host of The Scoop on WSIC.
Well, thank you.
And Bridgett Nesbit. She is with us today to talk some statesville politics.
Yes.
We want to get every area covered. So it will be kind of a top-heavy show, but you guys stick around with us because it's definitely jam-packed with information that will matter to you all the way to the end. So let's start off by kind of looking backwards to last week. It's been a week. We told you then that a Charlotte TV news station had run a story about a list of town of Mooresville employees who have left in the past while. And there was little to no explanation or context really provided except for a couple of anonymous sources sort of filling in the blanks. I told y'all then that if I were writing a hit piece, I would, but it wouldn't be about any mass exodus of employees. It would be, that to me is too emotional. Correct me if I'm wrong, but people leave jobs every day.
Every day.
And I'm not saying that everyone is, sometimes people, though, they're retiring, right? Sometimes they're moving. Sometimes they find a job that's going to pay them better. So this happens every day, and that's too emotional for me. I want to stick to what are the facts of this. So here's the real question about that particular story. And we know this, but why did an assistant police chief who started his law enforcement career in Mooresville, right, Dan? 3 decades ago-ish?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know where he's from in the South Towns in New York. I don't know if he was ever an officer there, but I know he moved here and became an officer.
Yeah, early on. But why would he be able, or why would he retire this past year with no fanfare really at all from the town of Mooresville? This is the story that the mainstream media chose not to work for. And that's what makes us a little different on this side of things. So we're going to get into the backstory of this just because this has been what we've gotten most of our feedback from the past week. So here's the backstory. In March 2024, let's keep in mind that's last year. Mm-hmm. We are keeping our dates correct. Last year.
18 months ago.
An assistant chief of police in Mooresville got into a dispute with a business owner over repairs to his personal boat. That dispute escalated into a 911 call. So we did note that 911 call last week. On that call, though, you can hear the assistant chief threatening to have this business owner pulled if he didn't hand over a trailer that the boat had been on. My understanding is that the boat was already in the water after a test drive that had turned confrontational. But we're not going to take my word for it. We are going to listen to a clip, and we're going to let that speak for itself.
Let's hear it.
Awesome.
So it's not an emergency, but I have a gentleman that owes me money on a boat repair, and he does not want to pay me. But he wants to take his boat and his trailer and all this stuff, and he doesn't want to pay me for doing the work. I got a signature on a ticket, and I'm not sure what to do.
So he wants to take his boat, right? He's there now?
He's there now. He wants to take his boat without paying me. Yep.
And who is this gentleman?
This guy is, what are you doing? What are you doing? Huh?
Listen to me.
What did you?
What do you fucking think you're driving off of my trailer? I'll fucking have you stop before you make it back.
What are you doing?
I'm fucking taking my boat and my fucking trailer.
Please.
Unhook it.
No, he don't. He can unhook it.
You want me to unhook it?
It's up to you.
Okay.
His name is Frank, Frank.
Yeah.
Last name is Falzone, Falzone.
Okay. And did he leave or is he still there?
He's still there. He's trying to unhook the truck from my trailer so he can load his boat on the trailer and take off. That's what he's trying to do.
Okay. You have it locked on there?
Well, it's in a bind or something. He's jumping on it, trying to get it off. Well, I think he's a cop, so I'm sure he has something in his truck. I'm not sure.
So you think he's a cop?
Uh-huh.
What makes you think he's a cop?
He said he was.
So no disciplinary action was taken against the assistant chief from the town of Mooresville. He was allowed to quietly retire a full year after this incident, and only after what I understand is mounting pressure on the town from the business owner's family. So it seems the intent of the Charlotte media was to raise suspicions about Mooresville's town manager, to point to this mass exodus of town employees as if she's impossible to work with or for. But let's think through that, because if the town manager were such a mean boss, then why did she allow the assistant chief to retire instead of taking other disciplinary action? Both sides of the story, the assistant chief and the business owner, they have aired their grievances publicly online and in court. Records are out there. If anybody wants to dive down that particular rabbit hole, that is not my intent, and I don't think it's your intent, Dan.
Nope.
Here's the important part, though, that we should leave you with, and that is that the courts did side with the business on the payment owed. All that being said, we never intended for one particular former employee to become the story, only for this case to show how easy it is for the press to serve you half-baked news. And that's why we're going to stick around to give you a fuller, more balanced story on issues that actually matter to you, the taxpayers. So we are going to move on from this issue in segment 2 and start talking about a couple of lighter things before we end up hammering it down with something really serious at the end. So stick with us. This is WSIC's The Scoop, and we will be right back. Okay, we are moving on because accountability isn't just about our leaders in government. It's also about how we take care of each other. And this week, that focus is on suicide prevention. And I wore my Rotary shirt today that I was gifted this past weekend at the Mooresville Fondo by the kind people of Top of the Lake Rotary in Mooresville. This week through Saturday is National Suicide Prevention Week. In Mooresville, the community came together, as I said, over the weekend for the 3rd annual Mooresville Fondo. And a lot of people, as the Mooresville Scoop, I've shared this event for 2 years. This year, I had the very distinct honor of being on its planning committee. And if you're not familiar, because even though I shared it for a couple of years, I'm like, fondue, fondue makes me hungry.
Is that an abbreviation for something? Because that's what I think of as food.
That's what everybody thinks. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I whispered that in one of the meetings to this lady, sweet lady Susan, and she was like, "Did you just say fondue?" And I was like, "I'm hungry." So anyway, bring me all the cheese.
So is there an actual abbreviation
to
for
be
that?
honest, I don't really know.
Okay.
But what I can tell you is that it's a grand fondo style is what they call it. And it is a big cycling event.
Okay.
It had multiple routes, 25, 50, 75
I listened to it on the radio all weekend. Or on Saturday, whatever it was, Sunday.
Sunday.
They had a statewide events channel for it, so I listened to it pretty much all day.
That's awesome. So riders it is it's a challenging ride, but usually it's going to be for a cause. And in this case, it was raising awareness and funds for suicide prevention. This year, the beneficiaries were the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. They were also beneficiaries the past 2 years. Be Well Iredell and Top of the Lake Rotary in Mooresville, who also host the event. I wanted to take a few minutes of this segment just to recognize the motto of Rotary is service before self. And I have honestly never seen people volunteer the way that I watched the past 6 to 8 weeks, these people volunteer to put this event together. It was absolutely phenomenal. There were dozens of them, and a lot of them Rotary, a lot of them, cyclists. And they poured their heart and souls, their energy, their time into an event that you can see they believe in wholeheartedly. And it really changed my life. I know that probably sounds dramatic, but it truly did. It changed my life for the better, seeing all these people come together. So I just wanted, as somebody who did have the honor of serving in that capacity, I just wanted to recognize what all of those volunteers did, the riders, the sponsors, everybody that participated in the Mooresville Fondo this year.
Did they have any survivors that had attempted this and speak at all?
Did not speak, but I will tell you, Susan, the lady that I just talked about, I wrote an article. Well, I wrote an article and sent it out on behalf of the planning committee. Her daughter had tried 3 different times, and she said, there is and I'm going to get to it in a second. Let's see. It's the AFSP website, and it's afsp.org. And if you go onto that website, you will find it lists the warning signs to look for. And she said that she had no idea. She said, I handled everything wrong. But she said, a lot of times families start turning, and this is so understandable, families start turning inwards and going, what are you doing to us? Why would you do this to us? When the focus really needs to be on the person who's in crisis. Yeah. And so she really opened my eyes. We had a great discussion, and but she is a firecracker for change. And so make sure you check out that website, afsp.org. Know the warning signs and talk. Talking matters, and it saves lives. So the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is 988. If you or someone that you love is struggling, please do not wait to reach out. The Suicide Awareness Prevention Week will end, I think, Saturday, but the discussion needs to continue going. So be sure if you need help that you reach out for it, because the world is better having you here. Yeah. That being said, now we're going to skip over to Miss Bridgett in the studio today. So I was born and raised until 6th grade in Statesville, but you lose touch over time. And obviously I've gotten really immersed in Mooresville politics, but Bridgett is with us because she has been covering Statesville for quite some time. We're going to let her talk a little bit about herself and her history, and then get us filled in on some Statesville politicking.
Gotcha. Thank you guys for having me here. I'm a native of Statesville, homegrown there. So good to know that we both match and we're both good people. There's a lot of things going on in Statesville right now, and one of the things that I've discussed with you guys in the past was the growth that you guys have already in North Charlotte, Mooresville, Troutman. All of that is affecting us.
It's starting to trickle north.
Yes,
fast.
Definitely. It's trickling north. William Morgan brought up a good point as well. He said it's not just that the growth is coming from the South. It's also that they have low taxes. Well, they're entertaining the people that are coming, that you can get way more house here than you would be able to get in Charlotte or in some other places. That's one of the things they want to do to entertain. But like you said about the race, I was able to get a good grasp of what's going on or who stood out. They were saying that Brian Summers had a little scandal surrounding him.
This was at the debate.
Oh yes,
last
they had
night,
a debate last
municipal
night.
Debate in Statesville.
Yes, they did. I apologize. They had a debate last night at Unity School. That's the old black school, so that's like a historical spot already. One of the highlights of it is that Brian Summers, when they asked him a question, and they did ask all the candidates the same question: if you were given millions of dollars, what would you do with it? his response got a fanfare because he said he would cap seniors. They wouldn't have to pay taxes anymore. You know, there's a lot of seniors in our deal, so they ate that up. The reason why the mayor's race is so important right now is because of, like we spoke about, the growth. They have the mall. That area is getting ready to be renovated, or they're going to totally change that. They just closed.
Are they keeping the building, or are they going to knock that down?
They're not. Yeah, they're not going to keep any of the mall. The only thing that you're going to get to see, we just talked about grandfathering. So Belts is grandfathered in. That's going to be the only building that's going to look the same. They're saying they want to do like a Birkdale Village style where they put the houses above, businesses below. Nice. And I'm not sure about what they're going to do below, right down where the Starbucks is. But those were the big issues. These are what the candidates.
You got the old JRs there. I think there's a Shikis or something's over there.
So listen, this is what was. I know I'm getting off of it, but this is what got me. Last weekend, I took my dad's girlfriend shopping. She wanted to go to Rack Room, right? So everything in there was 50% off. And when I walked up to the front, I said, "You guys had a good run here. Do you know where you're going to relocate?" She said, "We're not going anywhere." And I'm like, wait a minute. Everybody else is leaving. You guys are going to stay in the midst of this construction? And she was like, as far as we know. So I called corporate, and they said they had no plans of leaving either. Everyone else on that strip, like you said, is going to be gone. They tore down the old cinema, the old LTOs.
Oh, LTOs.
Yeah. That was a fun place back there. That was fun back there. But at the race again, from paying attention to it, William Morgan, he didn't come. He said he didn't know about the race till late. So he said he'll be at the next 2 elections. I'll make sure I put that on my...
You mean debates?
Debates, I apologize.
You're good.
He said he'll be at the next 2. Kevin Head wasn't there either. Everyone else was. Who
hosted this debate?
It was a young lady by the name of LaTanya Graham. I'm not for certain. I was trying to research where her, because I didn't see it on the poster what the organization is. But I think the next one is going to be sponsored by Mitchell in the NAACP. So they're going to have 2 more robust ones. This one was like a forum style, so they didn't go head to head with one another. They kind of just had questions and everyone answered, and that's how they got the response. Probably about 40 people or more there. But like I said, and this is what I was telling one of the candidates that I spoke to afterwards, they're going back to hand this information over to the people that did not come. Mm-hmm. And just to be honest with you, on the main boards, nobody has a mayor that they're picking. When you run something, the main thing people are saying is, well, I don't know. I don't think that's a good pick this year. So there's really there's really a question of who's going to be the mayor.
I haven't really followed the politics in Statesville that closely, but I've had a few conversations with Brian, and he seems like a stand-up guy. Hey,
yeah, I heard that. I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to talk to him. You probably are aware that he got really close the last time he ran against QT. They had a runoff. And then some kind of things happened. It was an article that was written about him. I think that took away speed from him. I'm not quite sure. But it's good to see he's back out there. And they say he's very robust. Like he's making sure he's, I don't want to say it, the most politicians do, kissing babies, shaking hands. He's making his rounds, I guess, to reintroduce his passion for the platform. Yep. William Morgan thinks he's the man for the guy because he's been pro tem. And he spoke about a lot of state senators and House representatives and stuff that he was friends with. So if you're looking from it as far as a resume, it would seem as if that would be what
and that can be a hurtful thing or a positive thing.
There you go. Yeah.
Trying to get money for the city, it's good to have those political friends.
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
But at the same time, you're 8 up now. You owe people things, you know, that helped you. So
That's true.
There's 2 ways to look at that.
That is true.
So we are going to wrap for now. Bridgett, if there's anything else that you want to touch on, we can do that in segment 3. But for now, we're going to take a short break. I appreciate you being here.
Oh,
and
awesome.
we've talked to Bridgett. Bridgett is going to be a regular here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know if it'll be every show, but at least once or twice a month she'll be on bringing us all the news from Statesville.
We need to stay up to speed on everywhere. And also, speaking of candidates and staying up to speed, for those of you who might not have known or didn't listen to Beyond the Blueprint with Brad Howard last Friday, he and I are trying to kind of work together on getting questions in for candidates. So wherever you are in our coverage area, if you have questions for the candidates that you have running for office, please send them to us. What was our email again? Scoop tips.
Yeah, scoop tips. Yep.
At wsicnews.com. That's our new email. So if you have questions for your candidates, please send them. We will put them out And anybody who chooses to reply, we're going to try to get them on air so we can get to know our candidates a little better.
Yep.
Sounds like there's a lot to learn in Statesville, so we are all ears. We'll be right back. This is The Scoop on WSIC. So we're going to now widen our lens a bit to talk about a story out of Charlotte that touches on justice and public safety. I know Dan has had some strong feelings about this and powerful thoughts, and so he's been digging into this story and has some things to share. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Firewire Dan.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it. We've talked about this last week. This is going to be a hard-hitting show where we're not going to make friends doing this show. And there's really nobody that's off limits. You know, I mean, we have an obligation, I think, to tell the people what they truly don't know.
That's true.
People don't know the bail system. People don't know that criminals are released every single day on our streets. And we're going to start calling out the judges. We're going to start calling out the DAs.
Which is important because these people are elected, right?
You know, there's people that are right here in Iredell County that are in fear for their life because somebody that's been arrested has threatened them multiple times and they're still out.
Well, and
they reoffend.
Take it back to basics too, because we talked about this last week. Like what we want to do is kind of pull the curtain back because there's a lot of misinformation on social media. It's the one downside to social media is that somebody picks up something and runs with it as if it's gospel truth, and just a lot of times it's not. So in this particular case, you know, going down that rabbit hole, or, you know, we like to call it, we're going to need a music like dun dun dun, the bowels of social media. You see that people, I mean, there's a lot of finger pointing at magistrates for these bond amounts and people bonding out. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of elected people that are in this process that are not getting called out.
Let's get right into it. The magistrate's one person. Mm-hmm. The magistrate could put a couple $100,000 bond on somebody, but then that person then goes sees a district court judge within the next 48 hours. Or sometimes it's the very same day, sometimes the very next day, depending upon what the time frame is that person was arrested. And then the district judge, which doesn't ever get reported, is the one who may lower the bond or revoke the, say, oh, you can release on your own recognizance. This is the type of stuff that the people don't know. People turn on the nightly news or their favorite radio show. Oh, this person was arrested. Most people think that person's in jail. Mm-hmm. It's not the case. A lot of times they're already out before it even hits the news. The sheriff's office sends me press releases all the time, and right in the press release, it'll say, this person's in jail. Well, I'll go look, and the person's not in jail. Mm-hmm. And then I'll send an email off to the PIO and say, hey, they're not there. Resend that out, type thing. So there's one local case that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to get into the Charlotte thing. We've been having conversations for the past week with a lady, lives off of the Perth Road area in Mooresville, Troutman area. She has got a disgruntled ex-boyfriend, husband, whatever the case may be. I haven't got too deep with that. But this person by the name of Justin Reinhardt has been arrested multiple times in the past 12 months, or actually 14 months. He's been arrested 5 times. He's been arrested for felony B&E, communicating threats, has had an ankle monitor, and has got DVPO orders, which is a domestic violence protective order. All these have been broke. I have got videos sent to me of this gentleman ripping mattresses out of the house and burning them, burning her clothes, child in the background screaming. Wow. He's been arrested, like I said, 5 times in the past 14 months, and he's been out on bond every single time. His last statement to the female involved here was that don't bother calling the cops next time. Somebody will just call the coroner for you. Oh, Lord.
And that video with the kid is excruciating to watch.
It's hard to watch, to see I don't know,
just
how
to hear,
3-4-year-old child in the background screaming because, his mother is being abused. I got pictures of the abuse. And, let's call it out. Sarah Kirkman's the DA of Iredell County. Somebody has to come up and stand up for the victims here. It's sad that the person that's committing the crime is able to reoffend due to the bail system.
And we talked last week about revoking, right? Revoking it.
Yep.
And how rare.
It's rare.
For whatever reason that is.
The DA or the ADA, for those who don't know, that's an assistant district attorney.
Yes.
And that attorney has to petition the district court judge to revoke the bond. And do they? It happens very rare. Okay. So this is just one person. I mean, listen, I was a cop. I know all about this. People go to jail every night, and by the time we're done with our paperwork, they're already out. The bail bondsman is sitting there in the magistrate's office waiting for us to bring them in.
And do you think, I don't mean to interrupt you, but while you're speaking about it, what was sticking out in my head really strong is they're letting them out because they're saying they don't have room for them. They're releasing them into probation and giving them bonds because they're claiming that the jail is full. Yeah.
And we have that beautiful new jail. I mean, you got to give the sheriff credit where he's due credit. That's a beautiful jail.
Yeah.
Retaining jail staff is hard. I mean, listen, I remember when I was in training at the sheriff's office, those are probably some of the worst shifts of my life. I didn't want to be in the jail. We all had to do that for training, to see what it was like and learn the jail in case there was a call there that we had to quickly get to.
Yeah.
But that is a rough job. Sheriff Campbell's done a pretty good job at getting the pay up, for those folks that work in the jail. But it's still a rough job. But anyways, yeah, I mean, the jail, there's still space in the jail, but they're starting to grow with population. But, for those who don't know how bond works, say the magistrate gives you $1,000 bond. We're just going to use a small number. You don't have $1,000 to pay that. You call a bail bondsman, and there's a couple right across the street from the jail. Well, it's 10%. That's it. So now you're paying $100 to get yourself out of jail. You might have to pay the bail bondsman something. They usually finance that, for a higher charge, 26, 27%. So it's a vicious cycle. The bail bondsman makes money. The jail, the court system makes the money of the bond. It's a ridiculous system. And when there's severe charges, felony charges, and you're getting low bonds to be able to get out on, and then the victim lives in being scared. That's what it boils down to. All right, so that's this particular story, and this Justin Reinhart seems like a bad dude. The videos I've seen, man, I wouldn't want him around my kids. I can tell you that. And the bruising that this female has provided me pictures. So, I'm sure the DA's probably listening to this. This is a hard hitting show. Take a look at this because this is who wants to live like that? Being abused and scared like that. So.
And knowing that they're out and can do it
again
at any.
And he's reoffended. He had an ankle monitor and he got arrested again for violating the ankle monitor. They went to court and this guy what sounds to be purposely parked right next to the victim's vehicle.
Wow. Oh, geez.
And I got pictures of all that. So, I mean, you can't hide that this is happening. Yeah. And, but there's cases every day that, create a backlog within the district attorney's office. So, hopefully they can give this particular case a little extra look.
Oh, and this isn't a new issue. I mean, my grandmother went through this years ago. She's long gone, but she had to deal with this as well, and with her partner, and it was tough growing up watching that and seeing my parents deal with it too. So. It affects families, and it's not a new problem. Yeah,
and it's a problem that most society doesn't know. Most people are good people. We all go to work every day. We do whatever we need to do with our families, and we don't care about what's happening up at the jail or the criminal element of society. Yeah, that's true. But there is a small part of our society that hammers away at victims, and they create a terrorizing types fear into the victim, and that's exactly what this guy was just charged with, a terrorism charge.
Really?
Terrorizing the public. I think it was something of that sort. There was something terrorizing something. I got it right here. Enter to terrorize or injure. He committed a B&E, and he went in there to terrorize and injure the people inside. He was also charged with misdemeanor domestic violence and communicating threats, along with the felony B&E. So, but we're going to go into the Charlotte case next. You're listening to The Scoop on WSIC 14 AM, 100.7 FM, and 105.9 FM.
Okay, we're back. WSIC's The Scoop, and we ended the last segment with Firewire Dan talking about bail and our bail system. We're going to now move over to a very heavy subject, which is the recent stabbing case in Charlotte. And even though these are kind of, obviously separate stories, they raise some tough questions about how our justice system is working or not. And I'm going to punt it over to Firewire Dan to wrap for us today.
All right, sounds good. So everybody probably knows what we're talking about, the August 22nd stabbing of a female who was stabbed in the throat on a Lynx bus in Charlotte, I believe it was.
Was it the train or a bus? I think it was
the train. I'm sorry, not the bus. The Lynx train, I guess it's called, something of that sort. But this happened August 22nd, and thankfully, there was some sort of news media that saw President Trump leaving his plane or his motorcade, something like that, and said, "Hey, what do you have any comment about the killing of the Ukrainian woman?"
Oh, wow.
And he said, "I know nothing about it, but I'll have an answer for you tomorrow."
Awesome.
And the feds were on it. Like flies on you know what, and. Within 48 hours, 72 hours, something like that, Pam Bondi has now said that they're charging him with a federal crime.
Yep.
So that federal first-degree murder or whatever it was, which carries a death penalty sentence. Okay. So this kind of just wraps up what we were talking about just a few minutes ago on the bail system. This particular gentleman, Carlos Dejan Brown, 34, of Charlotte, he had been arrested 14 times and out on bail. His mother tried to get him an IVC, which is an involuntary commitment order, because he's been diagnosed with schizophrenia or something. Listen, you can be diagnosed with anything you want. There's meds for it. But as long as people continue to do drugs, they're going to be out of their mind. We didn't have these problems 50 years ago. Sure, did we have some mental illness probably 50 to 100 years ago? Absolutely.
But they hurt themselves most of the time.
This is being amplified now because of the drugs. And, people are always up in arms about the whole ICE situation with the president's orders. This is why you got to start connecting the dots. People were up in arms because we blew that boat to smithereens in the Caribbean. They were carrying drugs that were going to eventually end up in the U.S. Gotcha. And, this is the type of stuff that if you don't stop, the mental illness is going to continue because people continue doing the hardcore drugs. Mm-hmm. So this is absurd. I am fully behind the president with this, getting a first-degree murder charge on him on federal charges, because one thing we can see, the court system in Mecklenburg County failed this woman and failed her family and friends. They're out on bond to murder somebody. Unprovoked. We've all seen the video. I know, Jamie, you said you refused to watch it, but I watched it. She sat down, was playing on her phone. A minute later, he gets up, stabs her right in the throat, and she bleeds out on the train. And one of the other things that was hard to watch, there were 4 or 5 other people right there on the train.
I heard they're just
and
sitting
they literally just sat there
doing nothing.
Now, what do you do? I don't know.
I don't either.
I know what I would do.
There's that fight or flight thing, and you think and you don't really know, but easy to sort of, what is it, Monday morning quarterback in it. But that has taken a lot of people by surprise. You're not the first that I've heard mention that.
If we're going to continue with a society of mental illness caused by drugs, that's what all this is caused by. Mm-hmm. Don't let anybody else fool you. It's all drug related. Okay. If we're going to continue with a society like this and continue to have politicians and ADAs and DAs that continuously allow these people out of jail, your safety is number one. Start protecting yourself, because we're walking into a society where you have to protect yourself.
That's the truth.
And the South has always been a really nice place, and we're starting to see all this stuff come in now, and it's sad to see. But hey, this is a tragedy. This girl was she came here in 2022. She lived in Kyiv. I was just reading her obituary here. She was an art major at Synergy College in Kyiv. Came here at the beginning of the war in fear for her life, and sat on a train and stabbed to death by an American.
I'm pretty sure I heard, and I could be totally wrong, but I heard that she had actually fled a bomb shelter.
Yeah, somebody said that she was living in a bomb shelter. Yep, what type of life is that for a young girl?
But then came here seeking.
So now you're finally here, feeling like you can relax. Okay, I'm safe.
And I heard somebody mentioning yesterday, that's what you get for being out late at night.
Oh, come on.
The girl was leaving work.
Blaming a victim.
It doesn't matter.
I think something said that she was going to get a piece of pizza or just had a piece of pizza, something like that.
That doesn't matter.
We all work crazy hours,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if she just woke up out in the middle of the night and just wanted to go somewhere. We should have freedom.
That's right.
Yeah, to
and
go
safety.
To go where we want to go.
And now, there's been this push of getting a what do you call it? Like a metropolitan police force. I saw the FOP from Mecklenburg County. They put out a statement, I think it was, and said, I'm thinking it was the FOP. And if it isn't the FOP, I'm sorry. I just read it, but I didn't fully pay attention to who wrote it. But they said, we don't need, no, it wasn't the FOP. I apologize. It's the former mayor of Charlotte. What's his name there? You remember his name before?
I can't remember my name, Dan.
Roy. No, it's not Roy. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank, but everybody knows who I'm talking about.
That guy.
He's the one who brought the toll lanes. That's it.
Look at me go.
Look at you pull it out.
Dang! And now I just kicked my cup over too.
He brought up a point on his social media. We don't need a metropolitan police department. We just need the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department to be fully staffed and have people on the trains or in the buses or in the bus station.
That's true.
Stop outsourcing it to low-level security officers or something of that sort, and be able to go out there and do your darn job the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
He brought up New York City, where he made the comment of there's 20 different police departments in New York City. None of them talk to each other. They all got a different command staff, and it's true. You got the New York City Police Department, you got the Transit Police, you got the Bridge Police Department, you got the Tunnel Police Department, whatever they're all called. I can't remember anymore. It's been too long since I've lived up there. But you don't need so many different hands in the pot. You need one person that's given the command and putting people's safety first. Because shoot, man, could you imagine just sitting on a train and
that's why I can't watch it. I put myself in those shoes, and it's just like I think about it's not just me; it's my daughters, it's other people's kids, and just to think how easily that could happen.
And if you watch the video,
unprovoked,
she
minded her business. She wasn't doing anything.
He got up from behind her, came up with his right arm and just went in the side of her neck.
God, like completely.
It was like he got agitated. You could almost see. I don't know what his thought process was.
Something snapped.
Yeah.
And the funny part was, she for a second there, she just sat there. Like, what happened? And it's not till maybe a second or two later, she went like this and then put her head down. She was shocked at first.
That was, of course.
Boy, talk about a sad situation. And now this is being amplified, obviously, and for good reason. It's being amplified by national media. But this is something the family has to live with now, seeing their daughter murdered.
Yes.
Over and over on TV, and talked about on great radio shows like WSIC. But the fact is, it needs to be talked about, and we have to start letting people know what's actually going on.
That's true.
This guy should have never been on the street.
That's true.
And the horrible bail system in this state and many other states. I mean, we're okay. I don't like the way it's done here, but go to a Democrat-run state where there is no bond. You just sign yourself out. So it is what it is. But just a sad situation altogether.
It is sad.
But yesterday, let's move over into one other thing while we got just a minute or two left here. Yesterday was 9/11. Another sad anniversary of 343 firemen, multiple law enforcement and EMS officers, and medics, paramedics, and obviously tons of citizens, not only from the U.S., but multiple other countries that worked in those buildings. Sad day all around. We all can sit here and say, yep, we were right here when this happened. And, and shortly after that, we went to war with those terrorists, and we prevailed with, years later. But
and a shout out to our first responders. Yep. This show will always appreciate and thank you for everything that you do. We do appreciate you.
There's not a person that goes to work in the police department, the fire department, or any of the EMS agencies that are around the area that don't want to go home at night.
Amen.
And when you're when you go to serve and get an unprovoked attack like that, on a plane crash into a building, that's something that people never thought would ever happen.
Sure.
So we've learned a lot since then.
We have indeed. Heavy updates today.
Yeah, today was a good show. Started off with the fail zone story, which I'm sure we'll hear more about now. We actually have some more things in the works with that, as Jamie can attest to, and we'll probably be bringing that up again in another show.
Yeah. So a lot to chew on. We covered that. We covered Statesville. We covered suicide prevention. Again, please remember 988, the lifeline. And if you need help, and listen, you might not even know who I am. But if somebody needs to text me or email me, please email me. I love to talk, if you can't tell. So we are here, and the world's better for having you in it. Thanks to my co-host, the Firewire. Thank you, Bridgett, for coming in. We'll be hearing from Bridgett again, and we will be back next week with more updates and hot topics. If you guys have any tips, the email. I hope you do, because I don't know if I do. I'm just kidding. Scoop tips at WSICnews.com. Stay connected and kind and caring for your community and each other. We'll talk to you next week.